So today I'll be talking about the 10,000 hour rule and whether you actually need, 10,000 hours to, master your craft as a footballer, no matter what position you play. Now, obviously, when I'm referring to 10,000 hours, it's not just the training. It's not just the training and, actually playing the game. It's, the training, it's the team trainings, the individual trainings, the matches, the time you spend in the gym, the time you spend on recovery, the time you spend watching games and, watching games, analyzing your own games, and just sort of watching film to, develop your football IQ. All of these things, all of these factors sort of go into, the 10,000 hours that we're talking about. So in terms of the 10,000 hours over the years, you're obviously gonna learn more about the game. You're gonna make mistakes, and then you're gonna learn from them. You're gonna learn certain nuances about the game. So, for example, you're gonna start to learn how to receive the ball, knowing what amount of touch to take in certain areas. Which part of the foot to, if you're a striker, which part of the foot to finish with, if in certain situations, whether you need to use your laces, your side foot, outside of the foot. You're going to learn all these things, and all of these things add up to obviously the 10,000 hour rule. So today I'll be talking about, do you actually need 10,000 hours? So of course, there's a certain threshold, there's a certain limit of hours that you need to put in that work, put in the grind. Just working on especially the fundamentals, but also working on your strengths, your weaknesses, learning new skills, learning how to develop, sort of your X factor, sort of what makes you stand out, what makes you special, whether that's your speed, your dribbling, your passing, your 1v1 defending, anything basically. So obviously there's a certain threshold that you need to be training at. You can't take a guy who's been training for, let's say, who's been doing this for like I said, 10,000 hours, and then another guy who's only been doing it for like what 2,000 hours. You can't really compare them. The gap is too big in my opinion. But however, you do need to factor in quality in terms of quantity. I feel like when you're younger, it's all about pure volume. It's all about just playing the game. Just because obviously you just learn from experience. You just learn from experience. You're put in different situations when you're young. Them ages of like 6, 7, 8, all the way up to like probably about 14. It's just, in my opinion, it's just about volume. Just try playing football every single day. Just try to, even if it's just in your back garden, getting your touches in, or even if it's just an individual training session, just go into the park, just getting touches in. Even if just having a few cones, even if you don't have cones, just kick ups, wall passes, just little things like that. I feel like when you're at that age, it's literally all about volume. So just try to play every day. However, you get to a certain age where it's like the quality does matter as well, because let's be honest, we know them type of guys who they tell you, oh yeah, every day this week I've been training for 3 hours, but then you actually ask them and you actually analyze what have they actually been doing, and they haven't really been training at a good intensity. They haven't really, set out match realistic drills for themselves, or maybe they're just one of them guys. They've just been on their phones for the most of it. They say they've done 3 hours, but really, it's only really been like 45 minutes of work in those 3 hours. They've just been so distracted during those 3 hours. So as you get to like 14, 15, the quality really does matter. So let me talk about your individual training sessions first. In terms of your individual training sessions, of course, you want volume. You want to put in those hours, but you need to make sure your drills are realistic, that they're at a good intensity, and also try bring people along with you for your individual training sessions. Try get a friend, maybe two or three, just to just to give you that competition, just to keep you on your toes. I feel like competition is the thing that drives you the most, because let's say you're doing a shooting drill and you've got like three people with you. Of course, when you're doing that shooting drill and you're sort of competing against other people, of course you're gonna have that drive to take extra care with your shots. Make sure you place it in that corner, because obviously you want to beat your friends in the shooting competition, or whether it's the passing competition. Maybe you have to pass it through, a gate that you made with cones. Of course, you're going to put extra detail on the pass when you've got competition. When you're by yourself, you might be a little lackluster. You might not have that same amount of concentration because there's nobody sort of watching you, keeping you accountable. I feel like when you actually train with people and you're doing these little individual drills, you're dribbling, you're making sure you're manipulating the ball with both feet. Let's say you're doing a passing drill with somebody, you're making sure you're checking your shoulders, and if you don't check your shoulders, you have your friend, you have your partner telling you, yo, check your shoulders. Just that person there to hold you accountable. So I feel like when it comes to your one-to-one training sessions, obviously You want, like I said, you want intensity, you want match realistic, but try bring people along with you as well, because like I said, keeps that competition going, keeps you accountable. Also, in terms of team training, you can go to every single team training session. You can put in the work. You can do your very best. However, if you play for and are training for a subpar team that's not really at your level, that's not at the level required for you to make that step into the pro game, ultimately your growth will be stunted, because you're going to be behind other people in terms of your speed of play, your mentality, in terms of, because if you're playing for a lower team, that it's less likely that they'll be taking it as seriously as you are taking it. You understand? So obviously the mentality is not really going to be there. You're not going to be in an environment where everyone's competitive. Everyone really wants to be the best. Everyone wants to improve their game. So obviously you haven't been around sort of that sort of group where that's the mentality, where everything's competitive. So obviously if you eventually get there, let's say like an academy or something like that, it's going to be a massive culture shock. So I would advise that try and find the best team you can possibly find. This is why I advocate for young players to always move teams, maybe every season, maybe every 2 seasons. I always used to, when I was young, I always used to think, oh, these guys keep moving teams, blah, blah. I always used to criticize people for moving teams every season. Me and my friends would always make a joke about how this guy's always on a different team. He's never on the same team. He's disloyal, this, and saying all of these stuff. But however, that ultimately, I feel like that's, now that I'm older, that's probably the best thing for your development. Constantly just finding new challenges all the time, especially if that player keeps moving up in terms of the divisions, in terms of how high they can go, then that can only benefit you, because obviously you're playing under different coaches who demand different things out of you. You're probably playing in different positions, so obviously your IQ of the game's going up. You're like I said, you're playing with different teammates, so you know how to sort of navigate different teammates. Maybe you've basically just seen different teammates. Maybe you have a teammate who loses his temper, a lot. You know how to deal with that. You have a teammate who is lazy and doesn't like to work hard. You know how to deal and navigate with that. Because let's be honest, in football, not everyone's the same. You're gonna have different personalities in terms of players and coaches as well. So in my opinion, like I said, you can be putting in the work in training, but if your team really isn't to the level you require, all those hours, like I said, it's not quality hours. It's not quality hours. It's sort of just, I wouldn't say a waste of time, but like I said, not as effective as it could be, as if you were playing with a team at a higher level. Because like I said, it just improves you. It just improves your speed of play, your technicals. Your coaches are demanding way more from you as well. So in my opinion, in terms of your team training sessions, literally just always try to just find the best team possible. Always try to move teams, get out of your comfort zone, because trust me, it might be uncomfortable at first. Maybe you move to a new team and all the players are better than you, and then maybe you're forced to play in a different position. But trust me, that's how you grow as a player. Because let's be honest, if you're the star man everywhere you go, you're never going to improve. You're never going to take that time to improve. You're never going to have that motivation to improve. Sometimes even you need a bit of shame. Maybe you go to a training session and all the guys there are saying, oh, nah, all the guys are calling you dead. They're like, nah, this guy's not good enough, blah, blah. And they're just getting onto you. Obviously, because they're getting onto you, that's going to give you the motivation to go even harder, because you don't want that to happen again. You don't want to be known as that guy who, when you come on the pitch, everyone's thinking, oh, why is this guy on the pitch, and all of that. Like, that's going to give you that extra motivation, that extra drive, to work on your game, improve your game. Even playing in a different position, that's going to force you to improve different attributes. Maybe you were a centre mid at your old team and now you're a fullback, so now you're going to have to work on things like 1v1 defending, things like your speed, things like your crossing, just little things like that. And ultimately, as you get to the pro level, that means you've seen different positions. You know how to navigate your way on the field. You know what to do in certain areas, how many touches to take here, how many touches to take here, and it just makes you a better, more intelligent footballer. So, like I said, um, embrace that discomfort. Don't just stay on a subpar team. Like I said, you can put in 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day. But like I said, if you're playing against subpar competition, there's no real benefit to you, in my opinion. So, like I said, I'd rather you train every day for an hour with the best players you can possibly find, players who are better than you, players who will ultimately improve you, then spend 3 hours training with people who people where the speed of play isn't really there, the intensity isn't there. They may not be taking it seriously as seriously as you're taking it. And yeah, like I said, just make sure that make sure you you consider that quality in there as well as the quantity. So yeah, in terms of the 10,000 hour rule, obviously nobody can calculate, how many hours they've actually been putting in terms of, like I said, all those factors like training, matches, gym work. No one actually knows that it's 10,000 hours. Nobody knows. Nobody's been counting. Nobody's been calculating really. However, my advice would just be, obviously you have to put in the hours, but make sure they're quality hours. Like I said, I'd rather you do 45 minutes of intense training every single day rather than have 2 or 3 days where you're doing like 4 hours, but it's lackluster. You don't really, it's lackluster. It's not really intense. You're not playing with the best competition. So, in my opinion, I would say once you get to a certain age, I'd say 14 and over, you really have to factor in the quality. Try to find the best players you can to play with, and obviously demand if you're training by yourself, demand intensity of yourself, speed of play. Just hold a higher standard for yourself. However, under the age of 14, if you're under the age of 14, in my opinion, it's literally just about getting the volume. It literally just go to the park. Even if you find other kids at the park, just go play with them. Back garden, get your touches in. Team training sessions, go to them. Even if you might not be able to pay for a one-to-one session, but any one-to-one session, any sort of football sessions, even if it's like a foundation, even if it's like a foundation for like West Ham or something. I remember I used to go to like the West Ham foundations, my brother used to go to like the Chelsea foundations as well. Obviously, it's not like the actual academy, it's not the actual like development center, but in my opinion, it's just good to just go get your touch, and just go explore, and just go play against different players, and work under different coaches. And hey, you never know who might be watching. So that's my opinion on the 10,000 hour rule. Hope you enjoyed the vid. I've been JT, and I'm out.